reported. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Next up is House Bill 1931 from Delegate Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. HB 1931 is a product of the FOIA Council, and it deals with virtual meetings, but it doesn't deal with virtual meetings with regard to COVID. This bill was originally conceived last year when I had never heard of COVID-19, and it doesn't deal with situations of an emergency. That's a different bill that I think is coming before us. This bill deals with virtual meetings in normal times, when there is no emergency, when a local government or a city council, county board, local commission is meeting. There is a quorum, they're meeting in person, all the transparency measures are there, but one person cannot attend because they are dealing with a family matter. Maybe it's a personal matter. Maybe they're taking care of a sick family member. You're going to hear some testimony, in particular from Katie Crystal, Arlington County Board. I won't tell her story because she tells it much better than I do, but I think you will see why it is so essential that committed local government officials can and should be able to do two things at once, namely care for a sick family member and also serve in the capacity which they've been elected to do. What the bill does is it says that if you need to take care of a sick family member to provide care for that member, and that prevents your physical attendance and you're a local official, you can attend virtually. And you can also attend personal matters up to 25% of the meetings. But all of these must be approved by the local government. So they must feel that you're doing this for a reasonable reason. And in fact, you have to say with specificity what the personal matter is that is on the record so the public knows why you have to meet virtually. That's the essence of the bill. I'm happy to take some questions. Otherwise, I should tell you that there is a large number of people that support this bill. You're going to hear from a few of them shortly, but I should say that in addition to VML and VACO and the elected officials you're going to hear, the bill also has the support of the American Association of University Women of Virginia, the Virginia chapter of the National Organization for Women, and more than 100 local elected officials from across the Commonwealth, including officials from Alexandria, Arlington, Blacksburg, Charlottesville, Dumfries, Fairfax, Falls Church, Herndon, Leesburg, Manassas, Norfolk, Prince William County, and Spotsylvania, to name a few. So this is a bill with wide support.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator Eben.
I might have missed this, but is this bill a recommendation of the FOIA Council?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Are there questions of the patron? All right. We will go to speakers then.
Katie Crystal, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify in support of Delegate Levine's bill. You have extensive testimony in front of you, compelling legal and policy bases for these changes. I am here to just briefly add my personal experience. As Delegate Levine mentioned, I am the vice chair of the Arlington County Board. I am also a mother. Nearly 2 years ago, we welcomed my son 2 months premature in early March, just as the Arlington County Board was beginning our deliberations on the fiscal 20 budget. Participating in those budget deliberations in person wasn't feasible during my son's month-long stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. And during those weeks, the county board held not just our regular meetings, but also budget work sessions on important issues multiple times a week. I quickly made use of the 2 virtual participation opportunities afforded to me in the Code of Virginia. And for the rest of that month, I found myself frustratedly emailing questions to my colleagues to pose in these sessions, or watching the live stream of the meetings and taking notes of areas that needed follow-up commentary that I couldn't offer in real time. I truly don't believe that the public interest of my community was served by having one of its 5 county board members sidelined and prevented from asking questions or participating in the study of the budget because of a prohibition on state code in my virtual participation. I do believe, though, that my community and others across the Commonwealth is served by having parents and women in particular in elected and appointed life. And so local and regional bodies are better when they represent diverse perspectives, and I encourage you to empower our communities to make public service more accessible for more Virginians and to achieve more effective public policy as a result. I encourage you to support the bill. Thanks again for the opportunity to give comment today.
Thank you. Next.
Phyllis Erico, please go ahead. And just a reminder, if you'd like to speak to a bill, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Phyllis Erico with the Virginia Association of Counties, and today I also speak for the Virginia Municipal League. We strongly support this bill. We want the best and brightest in our local government official ranks, but we also want people who can take care of their family and their livelihood. And we're very concerned about transparency, but we believe this bill has the right balance between flexibility for local elected officials and also allowing for transparency while having a quorum present at the meeting. So we urge you to pass this bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next.
Elizabeth Bennett Parker, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Elizabeth Bennett Parker, and I'm in strong support of this bill. This bill is about decreasing barriers so that residents across the Commonwealth with the diversity of voices and lived experiences can directly participate in their government. The law applies not only to elected officials, but to the many residents who serve voluntarily on local and regional advisory boards across the Commonwealth. About a month before I was sworn in as the Vice Mayor of Alexandria, my mother was hospitalized in Florida. While she recovered quickly and is now fine, if that were to happen again, I could miss as many as 5 meetings in a 10-day period. That is based on our meeting schedule. Other bodies meet more or less than we do. For example, the Fairfax County School Board met around 133 times last year. Female members, both elected and appointed, have been barred from participating in meetings because they were caring for a sick family member. You heard from Ms. Crystal. There are other women with different stories who could not join us today. The FOIA Council also heard from mothers that the current law, combined with childcare challenges, prevents them from serving on boards in their communities. A resident of Chesapeake spoke to the negative effect of the law on military reservists. Members of our Chamber of Commerce would like flexibility so they can serve and provide their business expertise to local boards. There are a number of other guardrails in the law that serve to retain accountability and transparency. In addition to including the member's specific personal matter and location in the meeting minutes, the body must have a written electronic participation policy allowing for and governing participation. So the bill before you does not mandate electronic participation. In addition to deciding whether or not to allow it, public bodies have the authority to govern it by adopting additional guidelines or restrictions suited to their circumstances and community. Modernizations to the law are needed. The FOIA Council recommended this bill after receiving a tremendous amount of support from members of the public and regional bodies who supported even broader changes. So I encourage you to support this bill, and I thank you for your time and service.
All right, thank you. Are there other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 4 remaining speakers. Okay. Megan Ryan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Megan Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Coalition for Open Government. I did want to remind the committee that this was not a unanimous decision of the FOIA Council. Just for the record, it was a divided decision. We understand that there's a need for flexibility for all members, but I think it is important to recognize that this bill is about the convenience of the members. It is not about helping the public. And it is misleading to say that it is because because people can't attend that the public is harmed by the membership of the committee members. This same argument was advanced in 2013 when the issue was all these bright people who worked in DC and were held up in commuter traffic and weren't able to then participate in their boards of supervisors or other advisory boards. There is no correlation between these rules and the ability of women or men to serve in their positions. It sounds good, it feels good, but there's no relationship between the two. Our position is that this is a great expansion of these rules. It allows more opportunities to participate, which means that electronically, which means that these members are not facing the members of the public they serve, and also increasing the number of times they can avoid directly interacting face-to-face with their colleagues on a particular board. So our position has been that you can maybe expand it by 25% or maybe add the sick family member exemption, but the two together is a great increase from where we are today. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Alex Thorup, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alex Thorup on behalf of the Virginia Railway Express and Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. We support this bill and thank the patron for his efforts.
Susan Burke, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Susan Burke, co-vice president for public policy of the American Association of Virginia, American Association of University Women of Virginia. We have more than 1,000 members and 24 branches all across the Commonwealth. AUW, as some of you may not know, is a national nonprofit organization committed to advancing gender equity for women and girls through research, education, and advocacy, and our vision embraces equity for all. The work of AUW builds upon responsible public participation at the local, state, national, and international levels, and we advocate public discussion to ensure enlightened decision on matters of public import. We believe the current restrictions on participation in meetings of public bodies by electronic communications are out of date and ignore the life circumstances and experiences found in a diverse population. They limit citizen participation to the privileged few and adversely impact participation by single parents, women, and other underrepresented populations, as we've already heard. AUW Virginia provided our views on this issue to the FOIA Advisory Council last November, and we understand that HB 1931 is a recommendation of that council. We welcome this bill, we're proud to support it, and we urge you to support it as an important step forward to update current law. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Michelle Gowdy. Please go ahead. Michelle Gowdy, please unmute yourself.
I didn't sign up for this bill. I apologize.
Okay. All right. That's all the speakers. Any comments or questions? All right, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As indicated in the legislation, it does come as a recommendation of the Virginia Freedom of Information Advisory Council, and Megan is indeed corrected. It was not a unanimous decision. However, the subcommittee that studied this did so thoroughly and came forth with this recommendation, and we think that it was a fair compromise that they reached in terms of what they have recommended in HB 1931, and I think that with that, I would recommend that HB 1931 be.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the bill to be reported. Any discussion? All right, let's vote on the board.
Ayes 12, noes 2.
All right, the bill is reported.